AI Hub. Siddhika and Bhushan, do you two want to introduce yourselves to our audience?
Sure, Bhushan, you go first. Oh, I can't hear.
Oh yeah, Bhushan.
Yeah, Bhushan, we can't hear you.
Be sure to add permission if you're using a browser. You allow.
Yep, we can hear in.
So,
good to hear your voice.
Yeah, my mic was in the Microsoft Teams. I don't know how, but anyway. Hello everyone, I'm Bhushan. Nice meeting you all. Nice having you here. I'm working at Qualcomm AI Hub from a long time now, and we're really happy to answer all of your questions and to make your own device AI journey as seamless as possible on Snapdragon.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for
Hey everyone, super happy to be here and excited to see all of you. I work with Bhushan on AI Hub as well. A small backstory to this is before AI Hub was Qualcomm AI Hub, it was Tetra AI Hub. It was a small little startup. Bhushan and I, we were part of it with 16 other people. And then we came into Qualcomm and it became Qualcomm AI Hub. So that's kind of a fun little backstory, how this platform came about.
Nice. And we're so glad that you did come about because you guys are awesome, both as a team and as a product.
Exactly. I'm currently playing with the AI Hub that goes with RB3 Gen 2. Delightful. So we are looking for any questions. Feel free to put them in the chat. Why don't we do the favorite question of every session so far? Cat or dog, and why? We got to start with the top priorities here.
Obviously.
So who wants to? Bhushan, maybe you should go first. My answer is very obvious because I have something to kind of point to and give the answer.
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, I'm a cat person. I think I'm a neutral, I would say, but I think that won't be accepted here, right? So I will go with cats.
Yeah. No hedging allowed.
No hedging allowed.
Yeah, my wife is a dog person, so yeah. So.
You know, they always say that those opposites attract, so
exactly.
Kind of makes sense.
Yep. But cats are super cool, so.
I'm a cat person. It sounds like Siddhika is also a cat person.
You can see that there is a cat portrait there. You see, frame. Maybe I'll bring it in.
I know.
No one notices it, but
I feel really
asked me, what this was. So I can tell a backstory about that as well. Tell a lot of things. But I was a dog person growing up because we had, a dog at home for years and years. And now I'm converted. Cats totally match our personality at home. My personality, especially where they leave you alone. They're like, I don't need your attention right now. And they'll come to you sometimes and be like, I think, you should be paying rent. Stuff like that. I like their persona a lot, and there's a misconception around they're not as attached as dogs, but when you live with them, you find out that they have very similar emotions, just different ways of expressing them. Who's less needy, maybe. Maybe it's a bad thing to say, but just less needy, which is nice.
I love that. I'm also a cat person. Nick actually just left this for me last night.
I have the matching mug,
yeah.
I like dogs.
Yeah, that's okay, Nick. Not everyone's perfect. Okay.
Wow, perfect. I see what you did there.
I hope it.
Well, we have a small little group here today, so if anybody can hear us, say something in the chat so we know that we're talking to someone. We can keep talking to ourselves though too. It's fine.
Yeah, for sure. Although
we
I
love
feel
our
like
own
we
company.
2 questions. Oh, apparently also my my
Balloons.
screen
That is cool.
recognition is still going. Yeah, I've got a couple.
It's doing different things. I didn't know that ours is probably turned off, but I didn't know that it does not the balloons, the other one.
Yeah, the background.
That's kind of, I didn't know that one of those was like.
Do you have a Mac or a Windows system?
A Mac. This used to happen too many times on too many other calls. So I had to turn it off.
Yeah. No, I'm in the browser. Let me get a link for Bhushan.
Yeah, he's in the app, so he's having the issue I have. I haven't been kicked out yet, so.
Oh, you're also on the app?
No, I tried the app for the past couple sessions we did, and it was painful. Because I kept kicking me out every time I talked. I'll reinvite him to speak.
App and use the browser.
Yeah, there we go. Well, I guess we're just going to talk through some questions that we had for you guys. And then audience, feel free to hop in. I know it's a small little crew here, but we're friendly. We don't bite hard. So let me kick this off. So let me pull, why don't we start with, I know we did some short introductions, and Siddhika, you touched on kind of your journey from Tetra to Qualcomm, but could you and Bhushan speak a little bit to maybe why you decided that this was important? I think now we can see the value for something like AI Hub, but it would be great to understand your journey, as a startup, how you got there.
Oh, even before the startup, was this your idea even before the startup? Where did this idea come from? That's the story I love.
I want to hear what Bhushan says. So.
Watch out, Bhushan.
No.
Yeah.
I hope this is all legally approved and all of that, so it's totally okay to say. Yeah. So, I'm just kidding. You can be as frank as you want.
I mean, I'll just do a brief, then I think Siddhika can go in more depth. I think Siddhika is just being super modest, but yeah. So Siddhika and I worked at Apple before being part of this startup. Siddhika and Krishna, they started this company, and I think both of them starting was one of the reasons I actually went there, because both of them have shown great vision at Apple in terms of building the tool and working on the ML infra, solidifying that, and basically streamlining the whole ML ecosystem. And I think that was one of the reasons most of our group basically joined forces with them on this new vision. And the vision was it seems simple, because whenever you explain to people think, oh, that should work out of the box. But when you go into it, you understand how many details are there, right? And I think that's where the on-device AI was very bigger, very, very different piece to basically tackle on Android. On iOS, maybe the stack is a bit stable because of vertical integration. But on Android, there are a bunch of failure points. And as a Tetra AI, we wanted to basically solve those pain points and make this journey as easy as possible. And I think that's where the vision came from. But I think I will let Siddhika walk you through the whole journey, because I think she's the one who started it. So you should hear it from her.
Yeah. No pressure.
None at all.
It's very similar to Bhushan's story. We were lucky to have the entire team, a bunch of people in the team from Apple. So we were very lucky to be in this nice space where we were building the entire AI stack, a bunch of pieces of the AI stack throughout for on-device AI at Apple. And because it was vertically integrated, there's one simple principle. Any developer coming with any model, it should just work across all Apple devices, whether it's a watch, whether it's a phone. It's just that just like as consumers, you have a seamless experience when you buy the iPhone and then get trapped into their ecosystem. You can't get out. It's similar for developers too. It's just they want to make it so easy. So we had a good ride for about 6 years, and then Krishna and I both we actually left on the exact same day. I remember it was December 31st, and we quit and we left. So that's a whole different parallel story what happened there. But we left, and the idea, the thought was very clear for us, which is we must work in this on-device space because AI was starting to move a lot. There were a lot of experiences. It had moved away from this just having gimmicky things, just having the photo editing or patching up things, and we were moving in the direction where we were talking to AI, and AI would respond with answers and so much more. Now we do so much more. So being in this space was something that was very clear in our head, and it was very, very, very specific, which is how can we make this journey of taking a model, any model, and get it running on the device super easy. Why don't developers think about on-device before they think about cloud? Why is that perception still this way? And that pushed us to build this platform. And initially, the platform was across Apple and Android, because developers come in and they want to build apps which are across both the platforms. And then post Qualcomm, it's more focused across Qualcomm and Snapdragon platforms. But that does mean if you look at it from a startup lens, you kind of hit that growth really, really fast, where you're not dealing with just phones, you're now dealing with phones and laptops and IoT devices and auto devices. So it just it gets insane, the matrix. Frameworks get multiplied, right? Everything gets multiplied. And like Bhushan said, it's a very, very fragmented world when it comes to device, because each silicon manufacturer has their own chipsets, and there are ML developed as a community. So every new thing kind of took off. This MLR comes in, it takes off. TVM comes in, it gets. So it just is a beast that will always be this way, constantly evolving. And in all that chaos, we have to build something that doesn't feel like chaos to the developers. And that's what Qualcomm AI Hub is, to make it very, very simple for developers.
And I can definitely say, based on my developer experience, it's been, for anyone in the audience who hasn't used it yet or is thinking about it, it is a pretty smooth experience. I mean, it's, you'll get your models that you need. They're ready to go on the devices. So it's super cool. We did get a question from the audience. When did you start, Siddhika? And I don't know if it was, when did you start Tetra or when did you start working in this space? So maybe both of those you could answer, but.
Yeah, I'm interested in the timeline of the deciding to quit, as well as starting up the new company as well. Fascinating.
Well, we started Tetra about 18 months ago.
What?
So, we're fairly new, very young company. Wow. We didn't even do a ton, but it was fascinating. Like I said, we left on December. So Krishna and I left on December 31st. If you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of the precise, journey, 31st December we quit. We went around talking to a bunch of startups, and the intent was to join a startup. To be honest and humble, it was not about creating a startup. It was about going and just working in this space as early employees in some sense. But we did not find a single one which was involved in this specific problem. There were people who were building new chips, RISC-V based. There were people who were building new compilers, but not necessarily an end-to-end. Nobody cared about how do I take a PyTorch model and get it working across all devices. It's a very, very complex uphill climb, and it's easier to solve a specific problem faster. Yeah. So, we had all of us, including Bhushan, had two mentors. One, the name of one person is Sethu Raman, and the other person is called Carlos. Carlos is now a Stanford professor. Sethu Raman, both of these were our managers. Sethu Raman has retired now. He used to be a distinguished engineer in Microsoft and then went on to Apple. And these both were acquisition of Apple. They got into Apple as an acquisition. We were kind of reporting into them, and they were the mentors. And we would always debrief. Krishna and I would come back and debrief with them, saying, hey, this is what we discovered with this company, it doesn't quite fit, we don't know. And one of those sessions, we just went, what if we just start something on our own? What if we just solve this problem? And it was the most silliest thing, because it's not something we've done before, right? It's not something that we knew was a problem that would take off and actually happen. We didn't have an idea. But they encouraged us by saying, why not? What is there to lose? So we put together a pitch, which was vaguely around these lines. How does a developer deploy any model to any device? We didn't know precisely at that point what that product shape would be. And then we pitched it to a bunch of investors. There were three things in my mind that were the biggest indicators of there is something here. The first one was, within a month, investors were ready to invest, which is the first sign. Somebody is willing to give you money. As much as it sounds like, well, that's happening with AI all around, trust me, it's not. They scrutinize a lot. So that was the first positive sign. The second sign was what Bhushan said. Our teams, a bunch of the people who joined, they came from Apple. They were part of the team that we worked together with. And to us, that was the second big sign that these are incredibly talented folks. And there's no reason for them to leave a secured space. There's
the word Apple.
There's no reason, but they came and joined the cause, which means the cause was real. They believed in it. There's something here for us to solve together. And the third thing happened was about March we started. Everybody joined, I think March, April. But before the end of the year, so around October, November, we had Microsoft, GoPro, Roblox, a bunch of customers who were paying us to use the platform. And that at that point, imagine it was Tetra AI Hub, not Qualcomm, and it was purely iOS based, so Apple devices only, and yet there were customers who, and these are not small customers, these are big customers. So Teams was a customer. That's a pretty giant customer. So if they feel this pain is real. So those three signs indicated to us that this problem is super real. So that's just the brief Tetra AI sort of journey that happened.
Awesome.
And we naturally, how Qualcomm, we naturally, we're working with all these customers specifically focused on iOS, and these customers continue to ask us, hey, now we're good with iOS, can you extend the platform to Android? And as a small business, you have to think about, how can I put my energy into something very specific and grow slowly? So we looked at the Android landscape and we said, okay, Samsung, that's the biggest beast when you compare, iPhone. The next one is Samsung. Let's go after that, build a platform really robust for Samsung devices, phone-based devices. And underneath that, it's Qualcomm chips. So Qualcomm kind of turned around and were like, what is this little mosquito constantly annoying us with all sorts of bugs? And they kind of, we got engaged and started talking about this more and more, and learned how big of a landscape Qualcomm has, which we didn't know about before.
And the rest is history, right? Now you're here on this Discord live.
The rest is history in making. We'll see what happens. You've just begun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually a good segue, because the next question is going to be what's next for AI Hub. So, I mean, anything up your sleeve that you want to share with, us, and then the community as well?
Just between you and us. There's no one else here.
No one's watching.
He works on a lot of these pieces, so I'll let him describe, because, he's probably more passionate about it as he puts it all together.
Yeah.
It's in the pipeline that you're allowed to talk about, Bhushan.
I'm always up to give a sneak preview. So yeah. So I mean, we are very much excited on basically building our platform and make Gen AI as available as possible. So working really hard to enable new Llama 3.1, 3.2, make it run on device via AI Hub. We're also basically that's from the modeling side. We want to make sure that developers can quantize their own model. So like we have a job coming up where basically you don't have to worry about how to basically configure quantization or anything, right? Just throw the data, throw a model, and AI Hub will do everything for you. This is just a beginning, right? Like this opens up like huge opportunity for us, and then like slowly we'll basically improve this job structure on where advanced user can also come in and play with the model at a very granular level. So the quantization job is something I'm super excited for. And that does connect with the Gen AI models as well. So these are the like top two things that are like coming up in next couple of months. And I mean, I don't want to spill the beans, but yeah, wait till Snapdragon Summit, and like see what you can do with Snap platform. So yeah.
Okay, that's a good taste. We got another question from the audience actually. So, two, that's awesome. So I'm actually going to take the latest one because that's I think a little bit more on the same trajectory that you were talking about. So the question is, what quantization algorithms do you support for LLM quantization? I think that's probably going to touch into IMET as well, but I'll let you take that one.
Yep, that's a great question. I think as we chat, like we'll also share some of the links that will be resourceful to you. So right now, like there are multiple quantization techniques that we have available. Like for example, per channel quantization, there's a block quantization, and Qualcomm also worked on very specific quantization which combines block quantization and per channel quantization. Because both quantization techniques has its own pros and cons. We kind of combine them both, and we'll be basically releasing that in like next couple of months. But as of now, like the Llama that we have, that uses per channel quantization. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. If you have any follow up, please post on the channel. We can get back.
I don't want to miss the question earlier from. I'm sorry, I don't know what your name is. Giraffe. The question is about
great name.
How AI plays a role in this or embedded domain. So I guess how, as a UEFI engineer, can you effectively upskill into AI, right? There's a lot of different answers to that, actually. And maybe I'll touch a little bit on some of that. And then, if you guys want to add anything, then you can. I mean, I think the first thing you can do to get exposed to AI is to find tutorials that are close to what you are familiar with and start exploring, right? So I'm a Python developer. I come from a Python background. You might come from a C++ background. There's a bunch of stuff that exists right now. So in C++, you have llama.cpp. That's a really popular framework for running an LLM on device, and it supports small models, so you can get it on a laptop. And the code is on GitHub, so you can go and check that out and actually look at what they're doing. That's from a more technical perspective, right? So you will have to have some, understanding of what's going on there. So I would say look at code first. Python, if you want an example, since we've been talking about LLMs, maybe something like LitGPT. That's a rebuild by a bunch of PhD students who have built like a fully open source LLM stack. They have everything included, like plugins for RAG and different models and training and all this stuff. So too much for me to list. But I would start there. So like look at existing implementations that exist on GitHub and then take some courses. I think, Qualcomm has a couple courses on Qualcomm Academy. There's plenty of courses from Andrew Ng, who's the Stanford professor, who's pretty famous in the AI space. And, any of these courses, you'll find some from the math side of things where you like dive deep into matrix multiplication. But then on the other side, you can see a lot of practical applications of AI. So there's plenty of like Raspberry Pi tutorials to get a vision model up and running on a Raspberry Pi for, low cost, not a lot of processing power, and get your hands dirty, right? And I think over time, as you continue to expose yourself to that, you'll get more familiar with the process. And of course, then keep talking to people, right? We have this community. We have, people on LinkedIn are always sharing about AI. There's probably local communities wherever you are. In San Diego, we've been working with a great community called SDX, who has a bunch of AI engineers. So if you're an SD, then, check them out. But you just kind of have to talk and connect with people, and that will help you, move the needle little by little. And eventually you'll wake up one day and be like, oh, hey, I get this. This makes sense. I know what I'm doing. Quantization, I got it, and then it's always, you're going to have to learn forever. That's just how software works, because the innovation is happening so quickly. It's,
exactly.
There's something to explore, something to try. Anyone else want to chime in on that? And I'm going to read the other questions so we can
I just want to add that, like, there will always be something you don't know, even like within AI, within technology, there will always be something. Get real comfortable with saying, I don't know, but I can figure it out, kind of thing. But Bhushan, Siddhika, do you have anything to add to Nick's answer?
So I think I would say, I think do everything like Nick has mentioned. I think that's like a really good starting point. But I think so. Embedded devices is like very important use case in AI going forward. Like for example, right now we all like most of the people use this drone, right? For example, let's say I'm going biking or somewhere, right? I might have my drone with me. I'm going hiking. I might have a low power device with me. So like, having some experience with like let's say low embedded devices is like really important. And I think the scale is more about we're going more and more downstream. For example, right now we have robots, home robots, which are fairly larger embedded chip, right? Like than let's say UFI. But seems like depending on the use cases basis, there could be an application that you might come up with. Because let's say if you have a stream of data, and just use a very small model to maybe predict something. Siddhika, do you want to add anything?
I think you both covered a lot. It's in my opinion, like you said, Nick, it's more start with getting familiar. This person asked about embedded, which is also an advanced topic. So you start with the beginning of how do I even start with Python, PyTorch, and then move towards devices because the difference between the devices that we see as the devices become smaller, the complexity goes up because you have to now manage the size of the models. You have to do a lot of magical things to get work done on smaller and smaller devices. Embedded devices are something which today at least are not as readily available. Small form factors on AI Hub. That's a topic that's constantly been on our minds. We just are tackling each problem one at a time.
Yeah.
So
just so much.
Yeah, only so much you can do with 17 people. I always say that. But now, I think, like you said, Nick, there is the power of community, and that's something that we all can actually build faster with that. Come together and make this journey easier for developers.
You guys mentioned the Slack channel. Actually, I didn't mention that. That's another place. The AI Hub Slack channel. For that. Need the link to join, we can drop it in the chat, but that's another place. Everybody's working on AI in there, and the AI Hub team's super active. So I would definitely check that out if you're interested in, if you have questions and stuff, thanks, Rain.
You're welcome.
We'll be there to help take you through.
Yeah, so if you have questions around, I know some folks were asking questions around AI engine, direct engine, Qualcomm AI direct engine. AI Hub event finally talks to the entire stack below it, including AI Direct Engine. So some of these things that you guys are asking are things we have to know because we build with those and more. So it would be great to pose those questions on Slack and someone or the other will respond to it.
To those questions, actually, we shared a couple links. There's one for our Windows on Snapdragon docs. That shares how to use AI Engine Direct with llama.cpp. That one has CPU inference. And then I shared a second link, which was recently released, and it's from AI Hub, and it converts the model to run on the NPU. It's a bit of an involved process, so you have to sit down and kind of go through it. This is an iteration, so, they're constantly updating the process, but it's working pretty well, and, it will get it to run on the NPU if you do it that way. So definitely check that out, and then we're available in the chat, if you guys need help.
So there was a question I think I would like to answer. So Dastin is asking, is block quantization same as per tensor quantization? I'll just give you one. So it's more or less, we can call block quantization as a subset of tensor quantization. So the main difference is in per tensor quantization, you have one same scale for full tensor. Let's say you have 120 tensor of size, let's say 1000. Then you have a same scale and bias for the all 1000 elements. But in block quantization, you can actually divide that into parts. For example, you can divide 1024 into 4 parts. each part will have a different scale and bias. That way, with block quantization, you go more granular. And now, as a developer, you can tweak that, like how much granular you want to go for your use case. So that is the only difference between block quantization and per tensor.
Oh, we are already at the bottom of the hour. These go fast. And YK, I would strongly recommend you jump onto the Slack channel and go into detail about that. I know Bhushan and Siddhika, and actually we have a ton of SMEs on with us, Abhishek, Sai, Yunkai, who are ready to answer your questions. But unfortunately, we have to go. So thank you so much. No worries, YK. Happy to help. Siddhika, Bhushan, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you here today.
Thanks
Nick,
for joining.
Anything to add? Yes.
No, the only thing I want to add is Team Dog all the way, guys. On that, bye. Just kidding. Okay, no. It's been wonderful. Like we'll have you guys back.
Yeah, it looks like, Nick, people get warmed up after 30 minutes.
Yeah, right.
Maybe we should encourage people and bring this up next time. Nick and I will be back with different guests. We would love to see you all again. And have a good rest of your day.
Thank you for having me.
Keep an eye out for future sessions. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks again, Siddhika and Bhushan.